I've got all my materials laid out in front of me so I can see exactly what I've got. And the first thing I'm going to do is to take my jug, which I've filled up with water right to the top, and start to make a mesh with my greenery so it'll hold up all those beautiful flowers that I've chosen. So the reason I've decided to put lots of water in my jug was so that I could put my greenery in and balance it out towards the outer edge here. So imagine you can see through my jug. I've got water up to here, so I can put my flowers and greenery in at quite a low angle rather than having to put them conventionally in just standing upright so they reach down to the bottom of the pot. And with my secateurs, I will trim off the bits of green that are going to end up in the bottom of the vase and just cut my materials to length so that they will sit really well. So the first few bits of greenery you put in, they're just going to flop around in the vase. They're not going to sit very stably. I think I'm going to cut this one a bit shorter. But the more bits of green you add in, the more everything will hold in place. So I'm starting off with my rhododendron greenery, which I've cleaned up a little bit. And that's too high there, so I'll chop up. So it's always a matter of measuring up and then chopping your materials to length. And again, I think I could probably go a tiny bit shorter on that one. So I've got a piece coming out to one side and a piece to the other, and then I'll come back in with my next bit of greenery. So I've got my conifer here, and I quite like the arching quality of the conifer. I'm going to strip off some more of the lower leaves so they don't get caught up in the water and start to rot off. Recut the stem and position it in so I can have that falling over the front of the vase. So I'm making a real effort not to put things straight down in the vase, but to angle them more so that I'm coming up with a much wider arrangement, and just to make it a little bit different from your normal sort of cut and plonk of arranging flowers. I'm pulling off these bits of green which will be in the water. This one I'm going to put towards the back. So at the moment I'm going to cut that a little bit shorter because it's moving around. So I've got my two pieces of rhododendron, two bits of conifer to the front and one to the back. And if I show you towards the camera, you can see that those stems are all crisscrossing inside there. Next I'm going to add in the hydrangea, and again I'm not entirely convinced that this is going to hold up, but in the event that it does flop in the next few days, I can just pull it out and slide something else in. So recut the stems and balancing that across the end of the vase. I'll have one piece out there, and this time I'm not going to take the other piece out to the other side. I'm going to have that coming out together, so you've got two pieces off to one side together. So it's really starting to build out. So I've got quite an asymmetrical look here. The rhododendron to one side, two pieces of conifer to the front, the hydrangea and rhododendron to the other side, and then just completing the back of the arrangement as well. And then I've got all my lovely sticks and twigs for added interest, and I'll work my way through this pile. So I'm thinking I'll have the azalea buds coming straight up, so recut the stem, and because I've got 4 or 5 stems in now, that piece of foliage will just stand upright. If I put that in the vase straight away on its own, right at the beginning, it was just have fallen across to one side. So you can see that all the stems are interconnecting, giving me a grid to arrange through. Now this piece, the lilac, is making a V shape. I'm going to cut that into 2 pieces. I'll have one a bit longer and one a bit shorter. And to balance out the hydrangea on the other side, I'll place one to this side, just curling it around a little bit, and then its neighbour can sit nestled in. I've got a few more pieces of those as well. This one's even got some lichen growing on, so it's got some lovely textural contrast. Then the third piece of lilac in there, just grouping that all together. So the lilacs are all on this side, the hydrangea all on the other side. As I say, I'm filming in May and I've picked these budding twigs and they're actually from the oak tree. They've got some really lovely dangly bits on it. So again, it's all about the textural contrast and seeing what you can find that's a little bit unusual and you wouldn't find in a florist shop. I've cut off some of the side shoots here because they're just going to be a bit too knobbly. And if you ever find that you don't have flowers to arrange with, in the height of summer for instance, you could just make an arrangement that's just totally green, just remembering to put in lots of colour contrast and textural contrast, and you could have a jug just a green to have on your side. Next I'm going to add in this branch here that is actually dead. It snaps really easily, but it's got some lichen on it and I thought that would look really great. Again, contrast with the lusher bits of green I've got, and because it is already dead, I can be really cheeky with my placements because it doesn't even have to be in the water. It just needs to be balanced so it'll hold steady, and I make sure my fresh materials go direct into the water. So a piece at the front and one repeated at the back. So that's my green done. Next I'm going to add in some of my flowers just to bring the whole arrangement alive.